Well, I'm here with Ken Levine from Irrational Games, and we've just come out of a presentation for Bioshock Infinite, which I have to say looks absolutely spectacular, and it makes it all the more frustrating that we're not going to be seeing it for another 2.5 years.
2012, sometime 2012.
Okay.
It's a big game.
It is. I mean, well, we could see how much work's been put into it. This is a complete departure from Rapture, starting anew, taking it from down in the depths to right up in the skies. So, can you tell us a little about the background of the story?
Yeah, the game takes place in a city called Columbia, a floating city in the clouds, and it was, unlike Rapture, it wasn't created by like a single genius. It was created by the United States government, sort of like think of the moon landing, but in the year 1900 or so. But to fly around the globe and show people who are living under tyrants and despots and monarchs that there's a better way. And what happens is the city gets involved in an international incident, and it turns out it's not just a floating World's Fair, it's a Death Star. And it's incredibly powerful, and it's armed. And after this incident, Columbia disappears into the clouds. You play a man named Booker DeWitt, who is a former Pinkerton agent. He's a private security agent. And a man comes to see you, and he says, I have a job for you. I want you to go find this woman for me who's been imprisoned for 15 years since she was a little girl, and I want you to bust her out and bring her back to me. And you say, okay, you've done stuff like this before, and her name is Elizabeth, and I want you to go get her. And you say, okay, where is this girl? And he says, she's in Columbia. And you say, Columbia? Nobody knows where Columbia is. And this guy says, I know where Columbia is. And he tells you how to get there, and you find your way into the city. Finding Elizabeth's not the hard part. Busting her out's not the hard part. Getting out of the city's the hard part, because it turns out Elizabeth's got an incredible suite of powers, and she's at the center. Unbeknownst to her, she's at the center of this conflict that's tearing the city apart, and everybody wants a piece of her.
Hurry it now!
You seem to really enjoy taking places of great beauty and then just trashing them. So in the opening scene, we saw that big flying kind of hot air balloon on a grand scale with the bell just crashing down. I mean, are we likely to see set pieces of that kind of magnitude all the way through the game? I think it seems to be a much grander scale than Bioshock.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we wanted to do is, Bioshock, as much as we loved it, the underwater part was a bit of a fake, right? It was mostly just art outside the windows. And we wanted to really deliver on the promise of being in the sky. So, there's not a line of code that we wrote that is shared with Bioshock 1 or 2. It's all new. We built it on Unreal 3. On top of that, we made a dynamic floating building system. So you saw that building collapse. That's actually, you could go in that building. That's the same kind of geometry as you see in the rest of the game. We're going to be demonstrating that more later. This feeling, you saw the buildings, they sort of look like boats, sitting in the tide, sort of bobbing up and down. And that's a very complicated piece of technology, but really important to us, the kind of scale you have in the encounters. You saw, those, you're fighting guys sometimes from half a mile away. You're fighting guys going 80 miles per hour on a skyline. You're fighting 15 guys at once. These are things we couldn't do in the previous engine.
Elizabeth seems like a very interesting addition, because you're very much a loner in the Bioshock games, and here you're having someone who assists, whose powers can actually augment your own. So we saw a pretty spectacular set piece where she was fusing together various parts of the environment and creating a huge flaming ball for you to take down one of the alphas. So will there be a lot of that as it goes on, really taking it to the next level in terms of the powers you use?
A lot of Bioshock Infinite was us looking at ourselves honestly and saying, where have we coasted for a while? And so for instance, being alone in the world in Bioshock and our previous game, System Shock 2, you were always alone. And that's great, because there's a certain mood that gives you, but we'd always have a guy talking in your ear on the radio or a guy behind a glass window. And we started to say, okay, we're really leaning on this too heavily. So we said, well, what if you're with somebody this whole time, and this person was not just a prop. She was a way for you to use your powers in different ways that you couldn't use before. All the examples you saw in those big set pieces, you could have just ignored Elizabeth in those situations. That guy on the bridge, you could have just fought him using your traditional Bioshock tool set. Or you could take Elizabeth up on what she's offering you. It's really important that the player drives the action, and she's there to provide opportunities. On a narrative side, what we're trying to do with her, Elizabeth has to feel like a real person. Elizabeth is somebody who's discovering her powers. She didn't even know she had these powers until these events start. And you see when she uses her powers, like you see her collapse, and you see the blood coming out of her nose. Because we want to demonstrate she's not a superhero. She's a person going through this with you, and she's as scared as she's as scared as anybody else would be going through this. But she's trying to survive and trying to learn what to do. And it's really important that that the player feel like she's actually helping the player, and you're helping her, and together you're going to try to get out of this situation.
Great. Well, Ken, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and the game is looking spectacular. So that 2-year wait is going to be a very long one indeed.
We'll be filling the time with There's so much to tell about the game. We'll be filling that time with information, hopefully as exciting as what we showed today.
That's him!